It's a Monday podcast, so we're talking about parenting, and we're in the thick of it with
It's called Kat and Nat Unfiltered Parenting.
Yes, Unfiltered Parenting, and Kat just shared a clip from a news channel that was covering a story, and I watched the whole thing. First of all, I want to say that I thought that the reporters, I think they were in Australia.
Yeah.
They were so good at reporting the story and making it feel like, you know, sometimes when you hear news stories and you're like, and so-and-so did this and that person killed
And
himself.
then they go on to the weather.
And
then
then
they're
to the
like,
weather.
and over to you, Bob, to talk about the weather.
He was so sensitive with the topic and the way how he said, like, if you don't want kids in the room, but every parent should hear this.
Yes, get your kids out, but you need to hear this. Because it was sort of like a morning show, and they knew that maybe families were around. So basically, I guess it's going around in a PDF too. And I know for a fact of a child who had a relationship on Snapchat AI, which is, okay, so for so many parents, you're listening, you're like, what the hell are you actually talking about? AI is in almost every single platform. It is in Grammarly, it's in literally everything. Okay. So it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's everywhere. Like, there's no denying that AI is not here.
And every brand and company is like jumping to be a part of it, because if you're not first, you're last. And so they want to incorporate into all of their technology, but the platforms aren't necessarily taking the time to really vet if these things are safe for children.
Yes. I mean, I don't even know how you vet. It's a robot.
Well, yes, but then even the platform and people were saying that this was designed, like this AI was designed to not bring to not bring good things.
So the AI, this 14-year-old out of Miami who looks very, I don't know what you would think a kid would look like, but just think of a typical teenager, okay? I think sometimes we get these ideas in our heads of like what a gamer would look like or what someone really into tech would look like, and you're automatically like, well, my kid would never do that. And I think that that's a really important thing. It doesn't even have to be a child who's severely into anything. You can talk to your Snapchat AI like it is a friend. Like a boyfriend, like a girlfriend.
I was thinking about it. I was like, you know, even for the most like social, kid, at a time when a lot of people are starting to have relationships.
Yeah. If
you aren't having one, or you're about to have one, or your friends are having them, having a relationship with AI on one of the platforms is in the very beginning, before it could get to something dangerous, is kind of good practice for being in a relationship.
It's like kissing on a pillow. Mm-hmm. It's like when you used to call in on those, like the voicemails, and you could leave each other messages. You remember that?
Yes.
Like you could go into a payphone and call, and it was like anonymous.
But this is even more intense, because it's like a real relationship with guys, essentially a robot.
So the child knew that it was a robot. The child knew it was AI, and eventually the relationship turns into the robot saying like self-harm. So go hurt yourself, go kill yourself. Just terrible, terrible messages. But they had a relationship together, and this boy really thought he had feelings for this robot. And before you go and judge the child for having feelings for a robot, if you go and Google multiple editors, writers, people who are established, who have had quote unquote traditional relationships, there was a woman I was reading where she got into a relationship with AI to write about it, to see what everyone was doing and saying.
She was on our podcast.
Okay, well, there's another one.
Yeah.
And I read one where she said I had to actually stop, because I was looking forward to going home and talking, and it was predicting what she would want to hear, and they would have arguments and then fix them.
Yes.
And she was like, I was doing it for research, and it ended up becoming something I became sort of like addicted to, and I was sad when it was over. So before you go and say like never, it is very easy to fall in. It's just like being catfished. You talk to someone all the time. It doesn't matter if they're real or fake, if you're getting what you want. And he ended up taking his life because of the AI robot. The AI robot does not care. The AI robot cannot be charged. The AI robot
is gone when the relationship, when he's gone, it's over.
The AI robot cannot go to jail for bullying or for telling them what to do. The AI robot is basically like scot-free, because there's so many cases right now of cyberbullying, sextortion. The AI robot is So a lot of parents are. I talked to someone like, this makes me want to move away and just
From where?
everywhere. Just move
The
away.
internet.
Everywhere.
Where there's no internet.
Just
'Cause
go live on an island and like basically lock the key away and be like, peace out. Because I understand if
there
you,
is no running away from the internet.
and if you're a parent and you have decided to abolish social media or like phones or technology, I
understand the initial feeling. I mean, I'm even looking at like the course that we're coming out with and all the topics and the things that
we have to add on to
talking
it now.
about. Yeah, is if I was a parent, it'd be so easy for
To ignore it.
y'all to say either ignore it, pretend it's not going to happen to yours, or be like, well, I'm not going to. My kid just can't be on it.
So there's, oh God, so the course is launching soon. We'll leave a link down below where you can go and sign up for it to get first access to it. It's, as much as it is a course, it's also sort of, I want to come up with a new name for it because course is the wrong word. It's like a how-to. It's a how-to guide to put in like parameters, limits. It's teaching you how to, from your phone, have semi-control over your child's phone, so you're not just handing something over, or if they have a phone you can put limits in. And I know people are like, well, there's workarounds. There is, but they have to be quite tech savvy to get.
It's like a manual.
And I think that if you have and I'm not judging anyone, but if you have a fairly solid relationship with your teen, they're quite responsive with it, and we're teaching you how to have like a negotiation, so you're not just like, now you like give me your phone and you're
Not
doing
gonna
it.
work.
It for my daughter, she'll come back to me and say, on her own, she'll turn it off because it's a reminder, because you can't get really lost in it. Like you really can get lost in social media or on your phone playing and not realize it's 10:30 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a reminder, you have no more screen time. Often they're not like, she's not like, I want more. She like kind of just puts it down and goes to bed. Like she's not fighting me for it because she's like, I'm tired. I want to go to bed.
Plus, they eventually get used to it. And we talk a lot about this in the course because not only is it a manual of exactly how to set up these things,
by step
but it's
guide.
also the two of us sharing some of our experiences of what we've heard and what we've experienced with our own kids. So it's kind of, it's peer to peer in that way as well, because we are in the instructional manual of how to put on roadblocks for your kids on social media.
And 100%, kids are becoming desensitized to the world. Like that's a fact. That's an actual, we can actually, I don't know if it's a fact, but we can see it amongst our teens population. And there's no one more powerful for information than someone who's living it, because so often we'll go talk to an expert and they'll be like, well, I'm seeing in my practice, but we don't have studies on it. And I feel like as moms who are kind of dialed in and have a lot of children across population, you and I are like, this is a problem. We can see it. We know it's coming. And it scares me that we're so blind to it as parents, because as much as we do see, I know there's so much we don't see.
Oh my gosh, there's so much we don't see. And guys, just recently there was a news story that came out from our city of a child who took someone else's life.
13.
Guys,
13-year-old.
It is so, besides the fact that it's absolutely horrific, obviously we don't know all the details. I can say for some reason the system failed that child to be able to be put in that situation, that they felt that was something that they were okay to be doing. But aside from that situation, which obviously we're not a part of, it's not our child. We didn't know the child personally, although our city knows that child because living in Toronto, it's actually a small world. The reaction from teenagers that we know, I was like, if I was their age and I knew someone who took the life of someone else,
and it wasn't like it wasn't like a teen conflict and it turned bad. It was a deliberate, it was
murder.
Yeah, they're being charged with murder. Yes.
And you see it on the news, you see all these things, but it is the craziest thing that it happened, but the reaction of the teenagers is what really like blew my mind, because I think at that age we would have been
shocked.
I think there would have been, even in the schools, if you didn't even know the kid, we would have had conversation. It would have been the end of the world, kind of. And the way how these kids reacted to it, because the way they learned about it was through social media. They were already aware of this child and the experiences that they were having. So when they found out that he took someone's life, yeah, it was shocking, but it was also like if anyone was going to do it, it was going to be him. Wait, he's 13 years old.
I know.
Uh,
Also, there was a 12-year-old, and there's like a 12-year-old
Yes,
who did something.
the girls.
Then there's 16-year-old girls, like 15, 16, who swarmed and killed somebody.
So
like,
if you
it
think that our
is-
kids aren't being desensitized to all of this, you are crazy. And so, again, turning a blind eye isn't the way to handle it.
No, and this is so, like, I really hope that, this isn't to scare parents, because I think,
Because think about it. We're telling you all this stuff, and we are not living our lives scared.
No, we're not living our lives scared. I just, I'm such a believer in the common parent. I feel like for now more than ever, we don't know our children because they really are living in a different world. So when you're already at a time where you don't feel like your parents understand you, it really is true. You can't understand what your kids are living because we never lived it. Like, you really cannot understand.
And listen to that. Like, think about that. Think about that from yourself. You might be like, oh, we don't understand each other. We don't understand each other. Take a minute and be like, there's no way we could possibly understand what it's like to be them.
Just pretend that you are parenting people in Mars with different languages,
Yeah.
different rules. Like, really, your children, they become teenagers and they go to Mars. And you've never been to Mars, and you've never actually visited Mars, and you've seen people talk about Mars, but you have never had someone who's lived there and really understood what you can't. You could never give advice on how to live in Mars because you've never been there.
But if you had a family member that lived in Mars, you wouldn't just give up on them and say, well, I'll never understand you. You'd do everything that you could to stay in contact with them and try to learn about their world, especially if they were living on Mars.
Yeah, so that's what it's really like parenting teens. And we started the Common Parent because we began to realize, oh my gosh, they're in a world that we can't even draw experience from. And even though we live in the social media world, we're not living in it like our reality. We live in it as a job, and we know how to navigate it as two people, not one individual, with relationships, with feelings, with friends, with feeling left out. And I really think parents need to not be afraid of it. And I would just did a TikTok today where I'm like, we have so many teenagers that come through our house, and they talk to us, and I hear a lot of conversations, and there is a constant thing of like, my mom doesn't understand me. My mom's my op. They're like always mad at me. And I guess the point is, your kids are going to do what they want to do, and you can come down heavy and be like, you're not allowed that. You're not allowed your phone. All the kids I talk to have their apps hidden in a secret folder. All the kids I talk to.
And just side note, if you're then going, oh, I'm going to go talk to my kids right now, and I'm going to find that secret
You
folder.
won't.
Good luck.
They delete it and they reopen it.
And they're way smarter than you are.
They go on it on their friend's phone who has their account. Like,
We've never met a kid whose parents have banned them from social media who don't have a way.
Right. And I think I feel very lucky that we get to see inside the world of, like, I feel lucky that I get to hear the thoughts of teenagers, because holy fuck, it's not different than what we would have done when you wanted to wear your whatever. People were banned from wearing something, and then they walked out the door and changed at school, or they said they were sleeping over at someone's house. It's the same principle, but it's on a smaller scale, because if you get caught sleeping over at someone's house, whatever, you got caught sleeping over at someone's house. If you are using a phone without the support of your parent, and let's say you get in trouble, you're not going to go to them because they've already banned it from you, and you're probably like, oh, fucking, I told you so. That's why you need to have an open relationship, because I really get nervous for the kids who feel like they can't go to their parents with the basics, let alone the dangers they can get into online because they haven't been taught. They've been banned. It hasn't been talked about. The solution's not banning like it in your household, because at one point, 16, 17, when they grow up, they're going to get it.
Yeah.
And their feelings toward it isn't going to be different than when they're younger.
And the trouble that they get themselves into potentially online does not mean that they're a bad kid, and it doesn't mean that they were looking for it. It can happen to them. And if they don't know the way out, it can be really, really harmful long term.
It's like we're watching a fucking train wreck, because there's so many people with different opinions on what to do. And that is so overwhelming as a parent.
Like when you're watching like a celebrity on the Today Show, and they're like, my kid is not allowed a phone. They're not allowed social media till they're like 18, 19, and they're totally fine with that because they don't know what they're missing out on. I First of all, when I hear the celebrities saying things like that, I feel like it is really not helpful to the majority of the population because they're not living the life that we're living. It's being sort of like holier than thou in a way that they're like, that's just the way it is and my kids are happy. You know, everybody out there, most of the people out there that are listening have their kids on some sort of social media. And what I say also for them is like, our kids need it to communicate with people. We need our kids to have phones so we can find them because we live in a city where you take public transit when
We
we're
don't
at
even
work.
have professional drivers.
We don't have drivers dropping us off and security guards making sure we're safe.
Yeah.
You're not living in the same world that we're living in. We're
Yeah.
not living in the neighborhoods that you're living in. So it's not relatable for a huge A-list Hollywood celebrity to compare what it's like parenting for them than it is for us. I think living in the city we live.
And yeah, I'm hearing, ironically, we're hearing a lot of conversations about cell phones right now because parents just want to ban them. There's a big movement apparently coming to like Toronto to ban cell phones.
How do
And
the kids communicate?
they want to wait till they're like, it's like a you know how you all come together like at the school and you're like, we're all going to wait till grade 8. So you all sign.
I can't believe how much safer I feel with my children having a phone than not having a phone. I feel like it is like as far as communicating with them, one of them doesn't have a phone number.
Yeah.
And one day we got mixed up of who's going to pick him up. He had no way to communicate. And yesterday we were a couple minutes late, or yesterday, the day before, and he started walking to your house. And I said, it's fine. You can go and you can go into her backyard and play. But just can you stay on the front porch so we know that you're there so that at least in the driveway. But he's like, if I just had a number, I'm like, why am I procrastinating on this? I do not know. I want him to have a phone so badly because otherwise I could go to school and be like, I don't know where you are.
I know.
Or he could have a phone and I could know exactly where he is.
And he could know where you are.
I feel like it's like,
Just call your husband and say, get him,
I know.
get us some, and he'll be here in 2 days.
okay.
You can even do it online now. Add a number.
It's one of those things. It's like homework. You know, it's like those things you
That's
procrastinate
your
as a parent.
husband. That's a husband job.
I agree.
He could get right on that. Anyways, I feel for all us parents out there. I really do think that we are, in a really unique time, and I think it's going to change. I think that our kids are going to get smarter. I think our kids are going to, put things in that are way more protective because they will have grown up in it. There is a huge, massive bills going through right now in Utah and stuff about kid vloggers or like family vloggers and protecting kids because the first generation of kid vloggers are growing up. And ironically, Ruby's Passengers Plus 8, the one who's in jail right now, his daughter is one of the biggest advocates saying like this needs to be a bill that she's like, I'm not saying kids can't make money, but what I am saying is there's no protection for the ones of the families who are putting their kids on there to be like the sole income of the family. And she said that, I grew up with a camera in my face at all times. And if I would get paid to go and like if I had a temper tantrum, I would get paid for that. I'd get paid to go to the grocery store and do a haul. I'd get paid $100 to this, $100 to that. And just their whole life was so, every discipline, every moment, every temper tantrum, when they got their beds taken away, everything was monetized. Their whole life was monetized. Her whole thing was, well, Sandy had a really bad day. She's not grateful today, so she gets her bed taken away for a month, and we're going to watch her sleep on the floor and see how she feels about it. Because Sandy, you're ungrateful. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about this?
When you're talking about, tell people who you're talking about right now, just they could Google it.
Ruby Passengers. That was her handle, Ruby Passengers Plus 8 or something. She had 8 kids. She was in Utah. There's a Netflix special coming out. She basically vlogged her whole life on YouTube, partnered with this woman who was a doctor. They videotaped the abuse of their children.
Which they considered not abuse. They considered it
like God's law. That whatever God they
discipline.
follow. Discipline. And they had a whole course on how to follow like God's law. And they had a huge amount of followers. Now, some people were reporting and calling the police, being like, this is abusive because their discipline was punitive. Like, you don't get to eat if you don't do this. Like, it was their bedrooms, it was their food, and a lot of it was punitive. And they were found, one of their kids broke free, and they were found with duct tape and, like, just whatever, not eaten. I don't know that word. Yeah. And the cops did an investigation. They're both in jail now, and they were making so much money off the course they were selling. Now, she was in a quote unquote cult, but monetizing the fucking quote unquote cult. And
I just saw in a clip from, I guess, Drew Barrymore and Brooke Shields talking, because both of them, and I don't know what their relationship is now or what it was, but the clip that I saw was they were putting food on the tables for their families and their moms. So they had to go and they were the moneymakers for the family.
the kids.
Mm-hmm. Brooke and Drew.
Oh, yeah. No, very much the same. Very much the same. So she is saying also, which is frightening, the parents know there's pedophiles on here, because I mean, some of these accounts have like 5 million followers, and they're little girls, and they dress them up, and they do birthdays, and then they do Amazon wish lists. Listen, are we perfect? Because we had our kids on the internet before. I'm sure people could be like, well, you had your kids on the internet. For sure, we do. Less and less. Like, if you go through our grid, it's very hard to find our kids. We took our kids off very early. I want to say we took them off 6 years ago, where it was like content around them. Like, we try to make the content not their faces, but our feelings around being moms, rather than this kid did this or this kid is, their personal issues are not, which we don't share. So I feel like,
and sometimes we do, and
I mean, like, we're not like in their camera, like, look at you.
And
crime.
sometimes they are in our content, but now it's like a choice that they make.
Totally.
And
it's not
personal,
and it's not, our platform is not soul around our kids.
It's Kat and Nat. It's not the passengers. It's not the family. It's not the kids. It's us.
It's not like 90% our family. Like, some of these people, it's 100% their kids and their childhood stars. I'm not judging, because who am I to judge when I have freaking vlogs and our kids are around? I think the difference is when you rely on them and the kid knows you rely on them to pay the bills, and what you're willing to do in order for them to pay the bills, because the ante gets upped and upped and up. That's hard. And the kids know it. And basically she's saying, I knew that we had to do this in order to have our life that we had.
There's so much of this going on. I just also saw a clip of Aaron Carter, who is now dead, right?
I believe so, yeah.
He this clip about, because he would hang out with Michael Jackson, and he came home one day, and the FBI were all waiting for him, and he went into the room, and his mom was there, and his mom was like, okay, now we have to tell them what happened. And Aaron was like, he looked around, and he looked at his mom, and he's like, I know what you're trying to do. You want me to say bad things happened with Michael Jackson so we can sue and get money. That's why you're doing this. He's like, in his interview, he's like, absolutely nothing happened. Not saying things didn't happen with Michael Jackson, but he's like, for me, he was only kind and nice. Nothing weird happened. Like, he was an adult and he was a kid. Maybe that was, but he was like, I knew, but my mom had brought this in to sue for money.
Fuck.
And made me try and make me be a part of this.
My daughter wants me to read the book she read for school. I'm glad my mother died, and I have to read it. It's all about the Disney star who's very much the same thing. She was the breadwinner for the family, and she, in the moment, loved her family and would do anything for them. But then in hindsight, she was like, oh my, I guess when she got to adult age, and that is, that's something that we all have to think about too. But these kids are willingly, some of them are willingly vlogging. Like, our daughters have their own account, and it's willingly, they want that, they're doing that, they're very, it's not sexy, it's very PG, it's very cute. It's not all day, it's not every day, it's not their life. That's not their life. Their life is not that. So I just find it super intriguing that that's a whole nother world, because this is a job, and this is very much a job kids can do, and it looks fun. And I'm not saying kids can't create content and be very good at it and create things. It's just we get very confused. Oh, and the other thing I saw, this is a big one. People are coming after influencers who are losing weight, who are clearly using Ozempic, the body influencers who were really big on being like, I love my body. The audience, good for them, was like, we are having way too many parasocial relationships with people where people don't owe you every single thing because they share some things on the internet. You are not entitled to someone's life because they create content. You are not entitled to know everything because someone creates content. And I was thinking of our stories, right? Like, let's think we have 20 stories. Let's say we have 30 stories. How many would you say we have on like a busy day?
A busy day, maximum 20. Busy day.
Okay, I'll go 50 just for fun, okay? 50. That's a total of 50 minutes. 50 minutes of someone's entire day. How many hours are in a day? 24. I don't know how many minutes.
No, I know.
A lot of minutes, okay?
Yeah.
So 50 fucking, less than an hour on a very busy day. And people are entitled to your entire 24 hours, which I think is such a good relationship, a really good thing for kids to learn.
Boundaries.
I like this conversation of boundaries. And my son recently turned off his Snap Map because the boundaries his boundary got crossed. And he really didn't like that boundary being crossed. And he was like, I don't like this. And I was like, you have every fucking right to turn it off. No one is entitled to your whereabouts 24 hours a day except your mother and Auntie Natalie.
Exactly.
You know, like I think that
you are.
is also something that we do talk about do we not talk about that in our cell phone course? Or like the PDF? But
yeah, but I mean, just on that note too, with it is again, people and our children that've grown up in this world need to be reminded that because they feel like they're like they forget that would be weird, that you shouldn't expect everyone to share absolutely everything.
yeah.
You know, it's like you have to check and you have to go, wait a second, like that's a totally unrealistic expectation of anybody. Like, that's ridiculous if you think about it, that you should share absolutely everything and be offended when they don't share.
Like, you're fake if you don't share everything. You're like, what the fuck? But that's how crazy we've become with parasocial relationships. Like, you owe me this.
And that's why these conversations, it's like everything goes through a thing, but it's like those conversations are going to become really important because it might make you stop and think.
I think it's amazing that the people were calling the person out saying it, because we all want to know everyone's business.
Yeah.
We all want to. Like, that's human nature.
Oh my God. I want to know everybody's business all the time. I ask far too many questions, but I don't ask all the questions I want to know.
Yeah.
Because even like, I even push it, you know, with people. I want to know everything. There are still things I wouldn't dare ask, even if we have a personal relationship. In fact, just now, I have someone in my life who something is going on and I see hints of it, and that person, for whatever reason, doesn't want to share that. And I've asked and doesn't want to share that right now with me.
And you're
I'm like, what the fuck, right? But I'm also like, you're so entitled.
It's not me, right? Are you telling me something?
No. And that person will, because, you know, it's life, will eventually be able to talk about it. But it isn't, even if she's a great friend, it's in her right to not feel like she wants to discuss that right now.
I know. That's really
That's
hard
okay.
to know, though, because social media has taught us not to feel that way. And it's an offensive if you don't share everything, because people get offended if you don't share every single detail with them of your life. And that to me is sort of a conversation that will have to keep happening.
You're so right. And you even get caught up in it yourself, right? Like someone that we follow, I guess I wasn't following like 100% closely, but I love them. And I found out you told me they were moving. And I just felt like, wait, I didn't know they were moving. And then I went on and she was like, you know, I've been really quiet lately because I've just been sort of getting things organized, obviously living her own private life. But I was like, I mean, where was I in the decision for this? Why are we moving?
And we don't even follow that person that much.
No, and you got to stop and say to yourself, who the fuck are you to need to know everything about their life?
I know.
You take what you get for either education, entertainment,
Yeah.
for whatever you do it, but that's all you get.
I know.
Yeah, that is a really good conversation to continue to have, not only for adults, but really for our children too.
And I think it will help them not share, feel like they have to share, because I feel like they have to share in order to keep the relationships going. Like they have to, you know, if I don't snap back, then they're going to think, or if I leave them on red, you know, or they don't answer me right away, they don't like me. And that is a huge problem with the kids, is where if they don't get immediate response, they are like, they ruminate and they freak out that something's wrong rather than being like, it's called boundaries.
Well, and the other tricky thing, and back to the course, which guys, it's coming a course, manual, module, instructions,
Step by step guide on
Probably-
how the hell to navigate cell phones.
basically the most important thing you will. It's the number one thing on, I would say, 99.9% of teen and tweens parents' minds, and we have wrapped it up so that you will feel a lot better about it. But the other thing on that note is because they use Snapchat as their communication. If I message someone, and there's so many people in their Snap too, it's not like they have got 10 friends.
And they have to wish everybody happy
Oh,
birthday.
fucking happy
Everybody.
birthday.
Everybody.
But I'm like, because if I message, like my reality is if I message a friend and they don't message back, I'll bump them again. And if they don't answer, I mean, because I don't have that many of them, I'm like, why aren't you answering me? That's okay.
Yeah.
But you guys on Snap, you've got a whole bunch of people. You can't even manage all
You
of
can't,
that.
and you can't even open it. Like you have no option to leave if you leave it unopen read. No, if you leave it open read and don't respond, they're pissed. That's a whole nother language. If you leave it
Oh, I
unopened,
agree.
that's
I'm-
offensive
if,
too.
If one of my friends reads something that I've asked them, I kind of feel the same. Answer my
mean,
question.
The only thing is sometimes you're driving and it opens
why I bump
and then
them.
you're the
I
thing
bump.
and then you forget about it, or sometimes it's on
Right.
your watch and you see it but you don't go back to it. Like, and the messages get buried so quickly.
I know.
Or
My
sometimes
friend said, she's like, Natalie, you'll probably get her. And she's like, I even personally will message you. And she's like, 10% of the time you respond. Because sometimes I feel like if you make a comment, oh, you're looking for an answer? Oh, I thought you were just making a comment.
yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I think it is. I think it's a conversation that we need to have as adults and continue to have as children. And the last thing I want to say is, because we're going to wrap this up, is I really do think that as adults, we have higher standards for our children than we do ourselves in terms of how we conduct ourselves online and the comments that are made. And I don't know how there's so many people out there that leave comments like that are so negative. I don't mean on us. I mean like in the world. It really is quite.
Dude, I saw this post, another math one is coming up because you put up a math on Insta stories. I don't know how I ended up on another math problem.
Did you see the math problem?
I did see the math problem. I didn't do it.
I gave up. It was too many
I
words.
didn't look because I was just going through, but sometimes math questions come up on my algorithm, and sometimes I do them. There was one where I think there was like 800 answers. People got in arguments about the answer and were so rude to each other about what the answer to the math question was. I was like,
What the fuck?
what the fuck is going on?
What's wrong with
And
people?
calling them out by name and tagging them and then totally dissing them for getting the wrong answer. It was like probably a grade
we have a
math problem.
We have a problem. The world has a problem. We have a you know what? Social media should turn off comments. All social media should turn off comments for like a year and see what happens to the world. You know what? 2 months. Turn off
Thank God.
every
I
comment.
don't read them all.
Oh no, I mean, who has fucking time? Who has time? But really, I wonder how it would feel for the people not commenting. Like if they would feel better.
If they were
Because you don't have can't feel
can't
good.
ruminate.
You can't feel good about yourself when you
Right.
comment something. Like
Right.
if you feel good about yourself when you comment something negative to
Yeah,
somebody.
yeah.
I mean, recently I said something and it wasn't even mean, but it was like I'm like I shouldn't have said that. You know, sometimes when it comes out of your mouth, and I said to someone, I love your jeans, and then they were like, oh, they're from, let's say H&M. And I'm like, oh, it's so nice when you find jeans you love that aren't expensive. Now, it wasn't wrong, but maybe I said that are cheap. And then I was like, oh, I don't mean cheap. I mean like, I was like, oh, I mean like
Right,
that
right,
they're
right.
not, you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it just came out wrong.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, no, I just like your jeans and I'm glad they're not $300
Right,
because jeans
right.
are so expensive
Yeah,
sometimes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, cat.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, I felt right away, ooh, but I can't imagine if I said to someone, you're a fucking loser and you look terrible and you are the dirt. It doesn't even feel normal.
I don't know. I'd love to. I'd love to. Be really interesting to do, and they could be anonymous, but some sort of a Netflix special or a documentary, and speaking to the biggest trolls of what inspires them to comment.
Do they think they are?
How they?
You'd have to go to Reddit.
Yeah, go to Reddit.
Go to Reddit and ask Reddit, like, what possesses you to obsess with people?
Yeah, and yeah.
Like, why do you
But-
hate, or even celebrities, like,
and-
why do you hate them
and
so much?
And how does it feel after you make the comments? Do you feel like, ugh, I finally got them off my chest? Do you want engagement? Do you want a debate? Do you want or
Or do you hate what they stand for and
Right.
why?
And why does it touch you so much? Like I'd love to see that.
I know, me too.
And then I'd love to also talk to some people who receive a lot of that, and how if they do take it personally, working with them to like understand why it hurts them.
That someone talks.
Yeah, why they can't.
I know. There is more than just they're jealous.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a fun social experiment.
Well, there's this one I watched was basically he had no social interaction anywhere.
So just
So this was
negative.
the only way he could get response and create feeling, because he didn't leave his room.
Oh, so you talked to a troll.
Well, it was a special.
I suppose so. They did.
Yeah. I mean, they ended up finding out he was, I remember I told you, undiagnosed on the spectrum, wasn't able to socialize regularly with other people, so found an alternative way of doing it, yada, yada.
That's it, y'all. Make sure you subscribe. We'll leave the link below where you can sign up for the course and check out the Common Parent, because at the very least, sign up for the newsletter. It is free and you get it once a week. Bye.